Okay, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. First off, we're going to start with the ES and the Nasdaq. Let's start there. So as you can see at the end of the week, obviously we broke through previous 2022, 2021 highs as we got into the beginning of 2022. We broke through that massive level there on ES, the S&P 500, go to NQ, broke back below that level as well. So that's the weekly chart. We go into the 2 hour, we can see that we're still tracking lower, still breaking massive levels and, consistently coming down. That's number two. A lot of this stuff too can be found on my Twitter. I recommend checking that out. The link is down below for all you guys. So make sure you tap in there. So all the charts will be there. But yeah, so that's where we're at. We came back down. We made a little bit of a resistance here as well, pushing down a lot of weakness. To start this week, what I'd be looking for, and this is going to be this is like, ideally, this is what you want to see this week. As much as I want us to get a bounce and as much as the Israel-Iran conflict could be over, from a technical viewpoint, you want to see a break of this low, a retest of around 1718, and a push back down, hopefully coming into the 200 SMA on the daily on the Nasdaq. That's number one. Going to Qs, give you a better look here. Again, Qs are coming into some pretty big support as well, right? We can see previous highs here, a little bit of illiquidity. That's what we thought we would come down to 413 if we broke 417, which we did. If we don't see a bounce here, highly likely we come down into 407, 404. Very likely. The 200 SMA is near 396. I don't know if we're going to come that low in Qs. There's a little bit of a disconnect between Qs and Nasdaq, so I could see Nasdaq hitting the 200 before Qs. So we'll see there. ES, what's happening here? I think you're breaking some pretty massive levels here on ES. What I will say, though, is your big support's near 49.50, 49.40. However, if I pull up the VPVR just to get a better look at where volume is here, you're going to see that there's a lot of chop in this range here. I can bring it back a little bit further. A lot of chop. So I don't know if you're just going to break straight through this, but one thing you can see is your main level was right here, in which you ended up breaking down. You came back into that level and rejected. So sellers definitely showed up. And this was a little bit of a nice change that we saw, right? So these are things that you have to be paying close attention to when we look at the overall action, is that sellers are stepping in now where they need to. And this is definitely something that we hadn't seen in months. So again, something to consider. Now, again, ES's 200 SMA is near 4,800. That's 200 points off. I don't think we need to talk about that just yet. That's crazy. The next massive level will be near 4,905. That has to be like a massive, massive level if I'm looking there as well. So we're getting closer to these huge levels as far as support. So those are things to be considering. Now, as far as news, and I want to say right now, if you're interested and you see these indicators on my screen, I don't bring up the volume during the videos that much, but my buying versus selling volume, things along those lines. The link is down below from Lux Algo, code OD40, to get 40% off of all the custom indicators. Just to let you know, for your first payment. So anyways, going into this weekend, some of the news. Now, I did say the bullish scenario here was that Israel-Iran conflict is done and buyers try to step back in. You won't have an answer to that until we see beginning of the week if buyers do step in. Number one. However, there's big news coming out this week you got to be paying attention to. The inflation report regarding PCE, which has been their preferred inflation gauge for the Fed that they've said over and over and over. Okay. This is the big thing that we have to be paying attention to. If you go to the calendar, I think it's on Thursday. I do believe it's going to be on Thursday. You have GDP. GDP's on Thursday. Friday is going to be PCE. Okay. That's your biggest day, in my opinion. GDP can help move the market in a direction what PC will dictate and really give the Fed a viewpoint. Now, the Fed also, too, I would say it's about 40-60 to where 40% of the Fed's like, we're moving in the right direction, 60% saying we're not. Again, it's like a flip of a coin when it comes to hearing the Fed members talk. I don't like to focus too much on that. I think it causes a lot of issues. New home sales data, that's going to be dropping as well. Don't see new homes rising while interest rates just hit above 7% once again. Number three, now I'm not going to really voice an opinion here, personally. I'm not going to. I know you guys will have an opinion. The House passed the new bill, right, for Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan, alongside, this is funding for them, alongside banning TikTok, which is funny that they lump those in together. But the only reason this got passed is because of Israel. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I'm not against Israel, so don't lump me into that category, but this 100% got passed because of the Israel part, and that's the only reason that Ukraine is even getting funding in this bill. So really interesting, worth mentioning. Not the best news, and definitely doesn't help with what's happening next year when all these loans mature as far as commercial real estate, and then the whole entire the government's gonna have to start repackaging some of their debt as well. So these are all big issues. But again, we're like, hey, the fire, we'll deal with that in a year from now. So we'll see. So those are the biggest things across the board. PC though, Friday will be probably the most important as far as the health of the market going into the summer. Okay, next up. Bitcoin, really quick. I like to cover Bitcoin because of what's happening with Bitcoin halving. I think Bitcoin looks fine. I'm shocked that you're holding this level down here, like 62, 61K. Really nice. If anything good happens on the market, Bitcoin's going to erupt. So keep your eye on that as well. DXY, the dollar, and what's happening with yields. The dollar is just trading at highs. Pretty bullish behavior for more upside, at least some continuation. The 30-year yield basically flatlined at highs as well. Looks like it wants to continue pushing up. No signs of slowing down just yet. My personal opinion. Okay. So again, those are my viewpoints across the board. Automatically, from a technical viewpoint, I do favor the downside. I have to. But we want to see if buyers can step in. If they can't step in, I think you have a lot of room to bounce. Now we'll go over some equities. So I talked a little about NVIDIA on Friday, and a lot of you guys, I think you guys agreed with my viewpoint. It seemed like a lot of you guys were bullish on NVIDIA. I still love NVIDIA, don't get me wrong. But the downside play here, you have nothing until 746. You have a major gap down there at 690. So you have a lot of levels you can start really breaking through here on NVIDIA. I will say though, don't get crazy for the gap fill, because this whole level here, down to 625, 624, is gonna be support. So don't go crazy. You have downside into 745, give or take. But until then, it's gonna be a little bit choppy there, and then the breakdown will be nice. So you break below 720, 725, it's an easy short down to 690, 693. Yeah. And again, long term, I love NVIDIA. I don't think it's a long term short whatsoever. Target trying to hold up. Dow was one of the only sectors that was green on Friday, so that was interesting. AMD breaking down, had a lot of good trades here. AMD, I'm going to tell you right now, keep this really simple, guys. Mark your charts. Go to your, all you do is go to TradingView. This is what you do. Go over to TradingView, hit the plus button, just set an alert. That's all you got to do. You're welcome. Thank me later. The 200 SMA, 136, 135. Just showing you the reaction that we've had to 200 SMA over the past year or two. It's been really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, major bounces so far. So yeah, so something to consider. We talked about when you break back below 2021 highs, bears would step in. They did. So yeah, that's where you're looking now. You have a little bit of support here from Lux Algo, but I'd be favoring the 200 SMA. We want history to repeat itself. Tesla, you came down to 146, key level mentioned. But Tesla, this thing really might start going for lows back down near 100, which is crazy. But long term, I think it's a great opportunity. Short term, be very, very, very careful. That's all I got to say. Everyone keeps trying to say it's going to bounce. Best of luck. Not the name I'd be going long on yet. Meta platforms. Meta just released their new AI part. I think Llama 2, Llama 3. It's all being optimized too with all the NVIDIA, AVGO, Intel chips. So worth mentioning. If you start breaking below 479, 478, I think Meta could come down to 470. I'm really excited for their earnings though. Keep that on the top of your list. Really quick too, it's in the watch list, so you guys can go, in the newsletter, so you guys can go check that out if you want. But one thing that I will say really quick, this is just the easiest way I can go check this out. For this coming week, this is your earnings. It's huge. You have Tesla Tuesday. You have big earnings too, like GM, UPS, Pepsi, V's. There's other big earnings, don't get me wrong. But your big tech names, Tesla. You have, Meta on Wednesday, IBM. You have on Thursday, Major Day, Microsoft, Google, Intel, Snap. It's just it's huge names. And the next week you have Meta. So keep your head on a swivel here, guys. This could get really crazy going into this week. Definitely things you need to be thinking about, not getting super risky, over risking anything in there. So again, Meta could have some downside into this down to 470. I'd be watching it. Really too, if you start breaking to the downside, you'd be looking towards closer to 457, 455. And that could be an awesome buying opportunity, because obviously your stops would be really tight, near 452, 451, and you could flip short to the downside if you needed to down to 404. So that's what I'd be looking at there. Nothing crazy, but good opportunities across the board. Netflix earnings, I don't think Netflix was bad. I think that they didn't provide a super bullish outlook. So Netflix is simple. As long as you hold above 450, 454, 550, 540, I think you look fine. You start to break below 537, you're probably gap filling down towards 503, maybe down to 492. That's one. I still like them. I still think they're going to do well. They don't think subscriber growth is going to continue, but they don't think that revenue is going to drop. So those are things that you have to like consider and play out there as well. So those are my favorite names, what I'm watching, big opportunities. Be watching Coinbase, in my opinion, as well. It doesn't look great on the chart, but a Bitcoin bounces from Bitcoin halving. You have to anticipate Coinbase gets some love, MicroStrategy, etc. Those are my top names. Hope you guys some out of this. If you have any questions, comment down below. See you guys tomorrow.